allow yourself just to exist and sit on the floor and be late and don't make dinner. Like, you don't have to have it all together. And it's okay if your kids see that, like let them see you fall. And then when you do, let them see how you get back up, because that's really what's important.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging norms and helping you redefine vulnerability as a strength. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle dives into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability and fostering meaningful connections, healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth. Sometimes these conversations are uncomfortable, but good workouts often are. So join us and flex that vulnerability muscle. Welcome to this episode of Vulnerability Muscle. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. Today with me, I have Lesley Bowen. At the age of 26, Leslie became a widow, left to raise 4 kids. Her son was 3 years old, and she was 3 months pregnant with triplets. The triplets were born severely premature 3 months later. Their prognosis was grim. Through faith and perseverance, she turned her situation into a story of hope and discovery of your inner power. Today, her kids are now adults and thriving. Her platform consists of empowering people to be and do anything that they put their minds to. I'm so excited today to introduce you all to Lesley Bowen. Hey, Lesley, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just got back from vacation. I was in Italy and I'd
Nice.
never been there before. And it's just remarkable to see just how old the things, how old everything was, but how well kept it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was something really beautiful about just seeing these old buildings and sculptures and architecture that has persevered through all these many years. And so yeah, it's really cool.
Very
Uh,
nice. It's good to
yeah,
take a vacation.
got to.
I'm
Like,
glad you
May
shared that, because Italy it's on my list of the next place I want to travel.
okay, well, I
Yeah.
I would recommend it after going. I didn't like I don't know, I don't think I had as much appreciation for the history and the art, prior to, and so I was doing a lot of learning on the go and learning, like, prior to, like, going to a museum or whatever, or church, but just understanding, the history helped me a lot in gaining appreciation for it, so that was good. And then the food, and yeah, so you're gonna be great, so please
I'm
go.
going.
Before we get deeper into the story, though, I have a segment I call "What Comes to Mind," and so these are 3 questions that, you can think as much as you want, but trying to get the first reaction that you have, and feel free to make the answers as short or as long as possible. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So the first one is, what comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability?
Uh Vulnerability is scary. Um, but it's empowering. So for me, and I say this all the time to my kids, like, I just, that mindset of, like, when you get older and you're like, oh my gosh, this all makes sense. Like, all those things that were a big deal in your 20s and even 30s are just not a big deal anymore. And so being vulnerable is an opportunity just to grow. And you have to step into that, whatever it looks like for you, to empower yourself and learn about yourself and share whatever you have.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I hope that if at any point in this conversation the vulnerability feels scary, that you are able to communicate that with me and we can go whatever route you choose. I want you to be able to guide this conversation and feel that you have that agency. So please, if you feel anything come up, let me know.
I will. Thank you.
Definitely. What do you do to center yourself when you feel stressed, overwhelmed, or maybe even depressed?
Well, that's easy. I mean, yoga is definitely a center grounding piece for me. I go to yoga, I meditate, and that, I share meditation with a lot of people, and it looks different for everybody. It's not that, you have to sit with this perfect posture and, you know, do what you think meditation is. I mean, it can be whatever it needs to be for you. So that's definitely empowering for me.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. What type of yoga do you practice? 'Cause there's a bunch of different types. Do you have any ones that are your favorite?
Well, I teach a more intense, like it's called tone and sculpt.
Hmm.
So it's
Are you
like
using
yoga
weights?
with weights,
Oh yeah.
some cardio, some bands. I mean, that's that's what I like. And sometimes I ask myself, like, are you doing this to try and escape what you need?
Mm.
And it feeds something in me. It's the cardio junkie that it feeds, but um yin is very hard for me, and it's, the practice that a lot of people start with, but just sitting still with your thoughts and holding poses. I mean, I feel like that is one that I maybe avoid but need the most.
That's
Yeah.
good. It is harder. I feel like for me as well. Like to be in a yin class is slow. It is drawn out. You are in a pose for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes. And they're not challenging physically most of the time, unless like your body's really tight. But like they are challenging because you're sitting with yourself in
Yes.
those moments. And so, oh, that's some pretty good insight. All right. I got some questions for later, but what is one of your favorite childhood memories?
Gosh. Probably just with my little neighborhood group playing outside and getting lost in the summertime. Um, just going out and playing all day and exploring, and things that kids, I feel like, don't do as much today. And you know, I think about this, and I talk to my kids about it. Like, we used to just leave the house and be gone all day and be on my bike and go to the river, and there was no life jacket and there was no
Mhm.
lifeguard, and we were just like, doing these things that were insane. Um, but so much fun.
Yeah. I miss that, and I think, like, my generation was probably at the tail end of experiencing childhood like that. You
Hmm.
know, in the morning, I get up, I probably eat a bowl of cereal, and then I'm out. I'm on a bike, and I'm in another neighborhood, and I'm playing basketball and football, and then a popsicle truck comes, and it's just like I wouldn't come home until it was dark,
Yeah.
and my body would be I remember feeling soreness for the first time. I remember that day, like, I was like, "Oh, I've been out here, like, going hard all day,"
Hmm.
and, but I don't see kids on bikes, I don't see kids playing organized football in the streets, or in the fields. I don't see that anymore, and it's
Hmm.
sad, so,
I
yeah.
know, it's sad.
Yeah.
No cell phones,
Yeah.
no thought of social media. Like, it was just you
How
and
are
your little friends.
Yeah, how is it raising kids now? Or I guess how old are your kids, and did they come up with the social media era, and how was it raising them during that time?
My oldest son's 26. He just turned 26 on Sunday. And the triplets are 22. My youngest is 18. So, yeah, I mean, I think social media has been a part. Um, I feel like, because I have three boys and two girls,
Okay.
and I feel like my boys weren't as, I guess, invested in social media. I mean, they're really close, and they'd play basketball and run and, do things around the neighborhood. We lived in a safe neighborhood, whatever that is. And, maybe they did not engage in the level of activity that I did, but they do like, or they did when they were younger, they'd go to my mom's house, who still lives in the little small town that I grew up in Southwest Virginia. And she has a little farm. And so they love just getting lost on the farm. And so
Mhm.
that's, and there's just beauty in that. Just beauty in nature and just sitting and not having a connection to your phone or, you know, feeling like you have an obligation to check this or check this. You just exist.
Yes, yes. I that is one of the things that I wish these kids in this generation that doesn't know what that feels like to experience. Like I got into camping late in life, late like recently, I guess. I'm not old, but like recently, and it's been one of the most peaceful things that I've ever done. I used to say I wouldn't do it because why would I pay a mortgage or rent and then sleep outside? That sounded
See,
crazy to me. But I actually enjoy it now, and I
yeah,
enjoy being out, and so, that's good. I'm glad that they have, a place to escape like that.
yeah.
What was it like growing up in Virginia for you?
I mean, I lived in a small town. I mean, the population is less than 5,000 people.
Mm,
So it's, there's like one red light. I think maybe now there's two or three. So, I mean, it just, I think at the time I felt like there's such a big world out there. And here I am in this little bitty town. I want to see the big world. And now it's like, as you get older and you see the big world, you want to escape to the small town.
mhm.
you know? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I've seen it. I know it. Yeah, I like this better. Yeah.
That's I feel that, like, I'm
But it
at a
was very
point.
simple. I mean,
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot to do, and so friendships were strong and it's what you
Yeah.
did. You just hung out with your friends and created things to do.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. Can you speak to kind of the influences in your life during that time? Who were folks that shaped the way that you were developing, that you thought, the ways that you thought and things like that?
That's a good question. I mean, my parents are still very influential in my life today, and they were when I was younger. At the time when you're a kid, you're like, they don't know anything. They can't. You don't know, and and then as you get older, you're like, maybe. Maybe they did know. They knew a few things. I get it, and I'm starting to see that with my own kids too. Like mom doesn't know anything, and it's like maybe mom knows. I'm going to call mom. So, I mean, of course, my parents. I had some teachers in my life that were very influential. I had a teacher throughout high school because I went to small high school, and so one particular teacher I had, her name was Miss Aker, and she's kind of the inspiration for. I'm a teacher, so she's kind of the inspiration for that. And she's,
Wow.
she and I keep in the beauty of social media is that you can still keep in contact with those people that you haven't seen in 30 years. And so she'll message me every once in a while. I mean, she's in her 80s and I've told her, like how much influence she had in my life just during the years that I spent in high school. Just, I don't know, she just was different, and I
Mhm.
think about that as a teacher, like, what makes you different? What
Yeah.
makes you stand out? What's going to make kids learn something from you? Like, what is it that you can give them that's going to impact their lives? And so
Mm.
I go back to that person, like, well, what was it that she did?
Yeah. What
And
if you were to answer that, what would you say?
she, and I don't even know that she knew she was doing it. Like, she just um, was very personable and made me feel seen.
Mm.
And I think that's a big thing. Like people want to feel seen. Like, and so I think about that as kids come into my classroom, like I want everybody to feel seen. I want everybody to
Mhm.
feel like they fit in here. And and you don't have to be anything other than who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Um so I think that's it. She made me feel seen and she had this wittiness about her that I mean, I still remember the things that she would say and do that were just hilarious, and I'm like, and they were corny, but
That's
they were
so good.
relatable. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those relationships are special, and I'm glad that you're still in contact with her after all these
Yeah.
years. That's so special.
Yeah.
Wow. I wanna hear now, kind of how you got introduced or met your husband and what that experience was like for you.
Oh, that's a good question. So I've been married twice. So the father of my oldest kids that died, he and I met. I was visiting Johnson City one weekend with a friend whose boyfriend went to ETSU, and so I'm like, hey, I'll go to Johnson City for the weekend. So um, we came to visit. Crazy story, and I saw my I didn't even know his name at the time, but I saw him from a distance. We were at a club, and not the place that you should be meeting people that you're going to marry or you think you're going to marry, but it happened that way. But I saw him from a distance, and I told my friend, I was like, I don't know that guy, but I'm going to marry him. And she's like, you've
Wow.
lost your mind. And and I knew I knew, and so um, intuition is a real thing,
Mhm.
and when you're in tune to the truth. I mean, just when you trust what you feel and you really allow yourself to feel things, everything you need's inside of you.
Mm. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. You knew, like, that I think that's super special, to be able to across a room with, like, so much stimulus and noise and all kinds of stuff, like, you were able to see that, and then you guys made that happen. Like,
Yeah.
that's a remarkable thing. Can you before we get into kind of, the aftermath, can you talk about that relationship and what he meant to you?
Well, at the time I was still at Virginia Tech. That's where I was, and he was at ETSU. And so I mean, this is before social media. This is before cell phones. I mean, this is in the 90s.
Mhm,
There were cell phones, but not, I didn't have a cell phone.
mhm.
He didn't have a cell phone. So we just would see each other as much as we could, at least every other weekend. And so it was a long distance relationship. And then when I graduated, he was still in school. And so I moved here to Johnson City, and initially just didn't want to stay here because I didn't know anybody, and I'm like, I don't know about this town, whatever. And I did. That was I moved to Johnson City in 98, I guess. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was a real love story. And my first son was not planned. I had him in 99. Um, and we lived together, decided to get married. We did. And then, my son was 2 years old, and we started to talk of having another child. And I wasn't really like on board with that initially, and he just kept saying to me like, you're not an only child, I'm not an only child, let's, he needs a sibling. So I gave in to that. And we tried to have another baby for about a year, and then I ended up taking fertility for 1 month, and then ended up that month pregnant with triplets.
Wow.
So that was in June of 2002. And then by September 8th, he died in a motorcycle accident.
Mm,
And so, yeah, I was 26 years old and pregnant with triplets, not wanting to do this alone, but not having a choice, and a 3-year old. And then they were born in December. Like there was
mm.
no keeping them in any longer. And so they were born at 25 weeks, 6 days.
Wow.
So they were very early. Um, it was a crazy time. And, and I, over time, just like I look back at the events of my life, and nobody, no one wants anything bad to happen in their life. But I don't live in regret. Like, and I'm selective with how I share my story because I don't know how people are going to receive that. Like, what was supposed to happen happened.
Mhm.
And you put your big girl pants on and you just move on.
Yeah.
Like you have to carry on with life, and that's difficult, and you allow yourself to grieve, and you allow yourself to feel the things that you need to feel. But at one point after I had the triplets, I just remember thinking, like, these kids, I'm the only parent that they have.
Mhm.
So I have to be whatever I can be. I have to show them the example. I have to be strong. I've got to do all these things because I want what's best for them. And
Wow.
so when I changed my mentality to that, um, you just pick it up and move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and you allow yourself, like I said, to grieve. And, there's still, it's been 22 years. Um,
Mm.
and there's still days that I'm like, gosh, I
Yeah.
really miss this and I mourn this and I allow myself to feel that, but you can't stay there.
Yeah.
And that's the kicker, like you allow yourself to feel what you need to feel, but you can't stay in the past and, reaching towards the future. You can't, plan for what you need to plan for, but the beauty of what we have is right now.
Wow, that is beautiful. I think like you said like you need to feel what you need to feel, and I say feel the feels you need in order to heal. Like feel the feels you need to feel in order to heal. And you spoke about allowing yourself to grieve and how that grief comes up and it comes back at even 22 years later. What did grief look like for you in those earlier years or earlier period of time, and how has that evolved over time?
In the beginning, honestly, I was really in survival mode because like he died, and then like, okay, now here's three babies, take them
Mm-hmm.
home. And they were, premature and sick, and they needed. I had home nursing in my house for almost 5 years, and so
Wow.
that was a difficult time. And so I suppressed grieving for quite some time, just because I was trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But then those things, they come up. And
Mm-hmm.
years later is when I truly like, okay, let myself grieve, because you have to move through that process. You can suppress it and you can think you're fine. And for a while you can be, but you have to allow yourself to sit in whatever you need to feel. And a therapist once said to me, what if you just sat in it? And I'm like, I don't want to sit in it. And she's like, but you need to feel it. And then if you allow yourself to feel it, when it comes up again, you just feel it less and less. Like you're desensitizing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but avoiding it, it's going to come up and overpower you at some point. So just allow yourself to sit in it and feel it. And I was like, and that for me was like one of the most beautiful things that anybody's ever shared with me.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to sit and just feel what you need to feel.
Yeah. Even the discomfort, even the
Yes.
pain. So this brings me back because this was one of the questions. Do you have awareness around what that may be today, the discomfort, the uncomfortable feeling, when you talk about yin yoga? Do you
Yeah.
have any awareness around what that may be? Is it related to this or is it something else?
I mean, I think your healing journey, when you allow yourself to feel things and you make that a practice, then you don't really hold on to anything.
Mm,
You just let stuff go,
mm,
and you in that appreciation of life and how powerful like right now is. That's all you have. And
mhm.
speak that to my kids all the time, and they're like, this, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with this, and I'm like, well, what do you have right now?
Yeah,
Like, what do you have right now? The beauty of your life is what is existing in this moment. So don't forget to enjoy whatever this moment is,
mhm,
and sometimes the beauty is just I'll sit at my kitchen table and I'll just open the back door, And every morning I just sit here and my dog will stand at the screen and he's just like watching out. And I always think like, what is he thinking? And and he'll just look around. And honestly, as I observe him, I'm like, he's just enjoying the beauty of
Yeah,
life.
that's it.
He's just
Yes.
noticing this bird and he's observing every little thing about that bird that I don't pay attention to because I'm so caught up in all these other things that I'm not appreciating the beauty of that,
Yeah.
which
Even
is the true
even you
meaning.
even you questioning what he's thinking is taking you out of appreciating that moment.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful cartoon that illustrates that. It's just a simple it's a man and a dog, and they're looking at something, and if there are thought bubbles above the man and the dog, and the man is I think it's like it may be like life and all the things that may come up with life, but it also may be thinking about what the dog is thinking, and then above the dog is just the scene in front of us. And so it's so real, like to be appreciative of that moment, to
Yeah.
sit and watch beauty unfold just as it is, like grass and trees and the sun and clouds, and be there and be present there. That's
Yeah.
something that I've grown to appreciate a lot more. So now that yeah, that's good stuff right there. I'm curious where your mindset comes from. Like how cuz that's a lot to lose your husband at 26 and then have sick kids to raise, three triplets on top of having another kid. Like where did the mindset of we got to suck this up and we got to keep going. We got to be positive. We got to move forward. Where did that come from?
Gosh, I think a lot of places, I'm very strong willed. I'm like, I just don't, I think even before the tragedy, I think that's just who I am. I'm the oldest child. And it's just like, suck it up, do
Mm,
it, get it done, figure out what needs to be done,
mhm,
and like I said a minute ago, I don't wish tragedy or anything on anybody, but I think we all have this story of, whatever we've had to overcome. I mean, plenty of people have that. This one just happens to be mine. Um, and you just find a way to get through it
mhm.
because the fact that you are still alive and, there's so much to be grateful for. And you choose what you let your mind cultivate on. And I'm going
Yeah.
to cultivate mine in gratitude.
Mm, yeah.
And it, that's a choice.
Yeah.
Mindset's a choice. So just training your
Wow.
mind to deal with whatever it needs to deal with, feeling whatever you need to feel, but then bringing yourself back to be centered in, what do I have,
Yeah.
what do I have.
Can you walk us through maybe some exercises or resources that you've used for yourself in the past to help you cultivate that mindset that
Hmm.
keeps the mind on your team and
Yeah.
feeding you with positivity as opposed to spiraling in a different direction?
I mean, I pray, I meditate, and my prayer and meditation overlap a lot of times. And how I do that, just sitting with your senses, and maybe that's outside. Sometimes like I'll fall asleep and like meditate, you know, to my meditation music and fall asleep. But it's a practice, and so I try to activate my senses. Like, what do I feel? What do I smell? What are some things, I see stuff all day. I'm just going to close my eyes and tap into the senses that I use or that I don't notice as much. So that smell and
Mm,
hearing and, bringing your awareness to that. And just my breathing and just, visualizing things that I want to visualize. And so after meditation, after you do that so many times, it just becomes something that you can do without thinking about it. Because you've
mm,
trained your mind, driving down the street and it's just like you're enlightened because you've trained your mind to think that way.
yeah. You said something I think I don't it's a simple phrase, but I think it's so powerful. You visualize something that you want to visualize.
Hmm.
That is That is profound. Like it's very simple. Like I want to see, and I view that and I visualize that, as opposed to letting your mind go down what the darkness is, what the pain is, what the trauma is, what the depression is, what the anxiety is. Like you in a moment can say, I want to see birds chirping. I
Hmm.
want to see and experience the flow of the river and the crashing waves. Like you have the ability to visualize what you want to visualize. I thought that was extremely profound. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We share something in common. Well, we share multiple things in common. One, I had a long distance relationship with someone in Johnson City for a period of time. My wife, she was in Johnson City during her medical schooling years, and so got to experience East Tennessee a little bit during that period of time. But also yoga teacher training. Yoga teacher training for me was the first introduction. I would say the introduction for me into group therapy. I don't think I may have not even gone to therapy prior to that, but it was definitely in a group setting of going through deep introspective self inquiry, like understanding self. I'm curious what you learned about yourself during your yoga teacher training process.
Gosh, that's a good. I'm still learning about myself. I'm like, well, we figure this out. I'm still on that journey. Um, I I like to be in charge. That's one thing I learned about myself. I like to be in charge. Another thing is that I am quick to give grace to other people, but not always to myself.
Mm,
And that's something that really did surface during yoga teacher training. Like, I'm quick to forgive and forget and move on, and whatever, but I'm not quick to do that for me. And so just learning to give myself grace, like, you're human too.
mm,
You acknowledge other people mess up, you acknowledge people can make a mistake, but allow yourself that same pass, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Um,
Wow. Wow. What do you think motivates the need for control?
oh gosh, that's good. Uh, being the oldest child for sure. Um, just situations that I operate, and I think, and I've talked to my therapist about this. It's a trauma response. So I operate in this. I'm really good at responding, because the situations I've been through, I'm good at responding on the fly and seeing an emergency and like getting some adrenaline out of that. And so I don't know. But back to your question, why am I that way? We're still working on that.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
We're still trying
I'm
to
just
figure that
curious.
out.
I'm just curious. No, it's good. That's good.
And I will say this. I One of my sons, one of the triplets, it's been a couple years ago. We were sitting at the table I'm at right now, and we were just chatting, and I just had a revelation, like, having a relationship with your adult kids is so much different, and
Mhm.
it's rewarding, and and they start to share things that you're like, oh wow, like, I didn't know that you viewed it that way or whatever. And so at one point, one of my sons, he's like, you have no emotion, mom, like, you never cry, you never. And I realized, like, I do cry, but I don't let them see that.
Mhm.
And so, it was a revelation to me. In my mind, I'm trying to keep all this together and make sure I'm who I need to be. I'm strong for my kids or whatever. But then they don't see me like, well, you don't have any emotions.
Mhm.
You don't, you don't feel anything. And I'm like, yes, I do. And, and I explained it, and, and now I allow myself to be somebody else in front of them. Like if I'm upset, like I'm just going to tell you, like they're adults now,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
get to see mom be human. Mom
Yeah.
doesn't, and maybe I should have done that earlier. I don't know. I don't know the
Yeah.
right answer, but it is okay. And it is what it is. And,
Do you
it
forgive
just,
yourself for not doing that earlier?
I do. And I sometimes think I had this conversation with a friend the other day. She's a single mom, and she has two sons that are now adults. And we've talked about how a lot of times I felt like just like I'm juggling life, like do this, line this up. I got to take this person here. I got to do all these things, and it's, I don't regret anything, but if I were to give advice to someone in motherhood, in the trenches of motherhood, like allow yourself just to exist and sit on the floor and be late and don't make dinner. Like you don't have to have it all together.
Mm.
And it's okay if your kids see that, like let them see you fall. And then when you do, let them see how you get back up. Because
Mm.
that's really what's important.
Dang. That's powerful right there.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's really great advice right there. Cause you are human, and you said
Yeah.
that, like, you had to show them the human parts of you, that you do cry, that you do have emotions, and they need to see that. They need
Yeah.
to be they need to see that modeled to them somewhere, somehow, so that they can grow and do that themselves, but to see it from mom, to build that empathy and compassion towards mom, that is important for them, so, wow, that's amazing. Well, who's been by your side, who's stuck with you through your journey, and what does the community look like for you?
It's
Yes.
right here.
Yes, yes. Introduce this beautiful creature right here.
It's Teddy.
Teddy.
I
What
don't know
up,
how people
Teddy?
exist without a dog. That's just
Yeah.
personal preference.
Yes. Oh, Teddy looks like he knows when to snuggle and cuddle and do what he needs to do.
He's I I'm telling you, animals sometimes I think are just underestimated.
Mhm.
He he knows me. He knows what I need. He knows when to give me space, and I don't say anything. Like he
Mm.
just knows.
Yeah.
Um, but your question was who's been by my side like through this? I mean, God is always by my side. I
Mhm.
believe in a higher power, and I know that to be true. And I get it looks different for everybody, and I'm a respecter of that, whatever, Um, but definitely God has always been by my side.
Mhm.
Um, you know, my kids, there
Yeah.
was, my oldest son, just we've been through, he was 3 when his dad died, and just moving through that, and now him being an adult and us having conversations, and he sees me as like my mom is on a different level, and I
Mhm.
and I appreciate that, because when you're doing it, you're like they have no idea like all the things, and now it's like my mom is a badass, and I'm like,
Yes.
I'll take it,
That's amazing, yes.
um but yeah, I have close relationships with friends,
Mhm.
um but honestly, I come back to that everything you need is already inside of you.
Mm. Where did
it's
you
it's
learn that
inside of
from?
you. I just knew it. I don't know. I've
It
just
was
always
inside of you.
felt it. It was inside of me. Like I've just always felt that. Like just praying, meditating, and uh, when we sit and we just get honest with ourselves, and we really want to be honest with ourselves, your answers are inside of you.
Mhm.
You know all the answers. You
Mm.
do. You may not
Mm.
be ready for the answer,
Ooh, yeah.
but you've got them. You
Mm.
know them.
Speak to that you may not be ready for the answer.
Probably going through my divorce.
Mm.
That's probably a time. I mean, you know the answers. You know things that are going on. If you're questioning it in your head, then and I say that to friends, and my own kids, like, the answers. If you're questioning that something might be happening, why are you questioning that? Be honest with
Mm,
yourself,
mm,
and it's just there.
mm.
It's always there. You meditate, you pray, everything's inside of you.
Wow. I to that last point, I'm curious what your thoughts are. And this I don't think you brought this up, but I'm just curious to hear other people's opinion on. Do you What are your thoughts on whether it's intuition or trauma response in certain situations like that? When you feel and sense something, knowing that there's a past of things that someone has experienced, right? We've all
Mm,
had different experiences related to whatever it may be, but is it intuition or is it a trauma response?
that's a good question. I think intuition differs because it's something you feel when you're calm.
Mm,
It's something you feel even when you're not thinking about it. It just
mm,
comes up. Like,
mm,
I just sitting here, I'm, sitting here with my dog, just chilling, whatever. And it's just like that feeling you get.
mhm.
And then you just start to look inside and like, you, that's the difference.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm curious, what as mama to the babies that you have, as the teacher, as the woman that you are, what are you most proud of in life?
Gosh, I am most proud. Oh, this will get me emotional. I am most proud of not messing my kids
Let your
up.
kids see it. Let your kids see you
Yeah.
get emotional.
I am most proud of, when you're navigating parenthood, like, you don't you don't know if you're doing it right. And you can't rely on how they react because they think you're, the bad guy. But I am most proud of the way that I've parented my kids and just seeing who they are as adults.
Mm,
A
wow.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know your kids, but hearing what you share with me and knowing the relationship, to be able to sit down at that table and have a vulnerable conversation with your son, like, uh, I know that they are proud of you too. So, I hope that they express that, but I want you to hear it again from your mouth and from mine, and hopefully from theirs, because that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Wow,
Thank you. I
wow,
appreciate that.
yeah, yeah. Before we close it out, I want to just uh ask you what messages from people along the journey, along the way, what has stuck out? Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a quote, maybe it's just some advice that you don't know where it came from. It's anonymous at this point. But has reminded you to keep going, to push, to persevere, to have that positive mindset.
It's just a good question. I do read a lot. And just Eckhart Tolle, everything that he writes is just insane. And it's like I have to read it a little bit at a time and then digest it and feel it. And then I'll go back and read, 2 years later, and I'm like, gosh, did I read this? I don't remember. Just things hit differently.
Mhm.
Um, but just the answers are all inside of you.
Mm.
They're all inside of you. And people are just busy searching and trying to find fulfillment and, you know, find the answers to life. And everything you need is in you. And you have to believe that. I mean, that's the number one thing. Your mindset's powerful. And if you believe you can do whatever you can do, then you can do it.
Mm. So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. I having, like, for me personally, defied odds and done things that I don't know, just looking back at life, I'm amazed at some of the accomplishments and things that I've been able to do. And it started with a thought. His podcast started with a thought. It started with a conversation, which was a thought expressed to somebody else, and I was talking about flexing. I was like, as I flex my vulnerability muscle more, it allows other people to do the same.
Yeah.
And it just, like, hit me, and I was like, "Okay." And that's what so much of what I've done is started as a thought that has then materialized into the world, and, you have the power in you to do it all, to do whatever it is that you wanna accomplish, um and be whatever you want to be, right? I think, like, going back earlier, I love what you said, like, visualize things you want to visualize. Feel the things you want to feel. It seems simple and it seems circuitous, but you have to make that active choice. And so, no, I think that's super powerful. Ah. All right. I wanna we got some fill in the blank questions, and then
Okay.
I'll have some I wanna hear some final words from you, but this is gonna be 5 of these. Okay. So the first one is perseverance means blank.
Not giving up.
My mind's greatest superpower is blank.
Mm, going wherever I want to go mentally.
Yes. Um, if I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be blank.
So good. Uh, it's okay. It's okay.
Mm. Give me a age. What age are you telling that to?
6 year old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm. Yoga teaching and yoga practice has taught me blank.
um, gosh, the beauty of individuals.
Yeah. Oof. I will agree on that. One of my favorite phrases that Small World Yoga uses is yoga is for everybody, and not just everybody, but every body. And that to see a room full of people of all different shapes, ability levels, it's beautiful to see. Like, we can't all do the same things, and we're not built to be that way, but every individual has beauty in them. It's unique to them, and it's just beautiful. Oh, wow. That's real. And then this is one that I came up with as you were talking, but, fill in the blank. Leslie, I forgive you for blank.
Hmm. Just for thinking that you have to have all the answers.
Mm, yeah, I forgive you for think that's good. Because you don't. You're human,
That's
and
right.
you don't need to know it all. But I love that. Your energy and your mindset, after experiencing, I can't imagine, being a young mother and experiencing the loss of your husband, and then bouncing, not, I mean, just persevering in the way that you did. Like, your story of resilience is truly remarkable, and I know that it will inspire so many people. It's inspired me today, and it will continue to inspire me. I'm wondering if you have any words to someone who may have experienced something similar to you. What would your words be? Words of encouragement be to those folks?
Um, again, just let yourself feel what you need to feel. Let yourself grieve, whatever that looks like. Give yourself time to do that, but don't stay. And just realize the power you have. And, you know, I say this to my kids, like, hard things make you better. And unfortunately, this was a hard thing, but it made me better.
Hmm.
And I don't know what that would look like had I not gone through these situations. And so just let life flow, and let things happen the way that they're supposed to happen. We're all going to die. We're all going to experience heartache in whatever way that looks, and just allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel, but then realizing the beauty of what you have to still exist and, you know, have limitless possibilities with what you want to do with your life. Just do it.
Mm. Wow, that's powerful. This is this just came to me, and I don't know if you are open to this or not, but if you are, I would say imagine we package this conversation up in a bottle for another 50, 100 years. Let's call it 100 years. And somehow your kids are 126 and 100, they're old and they're able to open it up and then hear a message from you to them. You can do it individually or collectively, but what would you say to them?
Ah, that's good. Just, I mean, I think every parent wants their kids to stand on their shoulders.
What message would you leave to your kids?
Man, I just, honestly, I'm just so proud. And it's not because, I hear parents being proud of their kids for these accomplishments. I went to college, I did this, I did this. I'm most proud of my kids because of the heart that they have and just the forgiveness, the grace. There's just such beauty one of my sons is in the process of buying a house, and we got along the way, and he spent this money on appraisals and inspections and all this, and it's fallen through, and not to any fault of his. And I was like, and I'm a realtor too, and so I'm selling him this house. And so I hesitated. I'm like, gosh, I've got to call him and tell him this. He's lost this money, and it
Mm,
is what it is. We'll try to get part of it back. And when I called him, he's like, it's disappointing, Mom. He's like, but you know what? What's meant to happen for me in my life will happen the way it's supposed to happen. And I think about that. I'm like, if I would have known that at 22,
mm,
if I would have lived like that at 22, like, where would I be today? And I
mm.
told him, I was like, his name's Miles. And I said, Miles, if you live the rest of your life like that, you're never going to be disappointed.
Mm.
Like you're gonna be happy all the time. Like if you just let things go the way that you are in this moment, this big deal, if you practice that, you're ahead of everybody.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
your mindset is so powerful.
it
And
is.
nobody gets to control this. You get to control this.
Mhm.
So things can be happening all around you, but no one gets access to this unless you give it to them.
Yeah. Wow.
So just it, I would say just how proud I am of my kids, and just, yeah, it's my biggest
Uh,
accomplishment.
wow. Wow. I hear a lot of radical acceptance, and they've learned that from you, and that is a great gift that you've given them. And uh, you weren't meant to know it at 22. You were meant to pass it down to a 22-year-old,
Thank you for
and
that. I
and
need to
so
hear that.
yeah, you're right where you need to be,
Thank you.
and I am grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for this conversation. It has been fruitful for me. I'm curious if you have any ways that you want people to reach out, contact, or anything that you have going on in the Johnson City area that you want to promote.
Um, I mean, always come to yoga. I'm always promoting some yoga.
Yeah,
Come yoga with me. I
yeah,
mean, reach out to me anyway. If you need to buy a house, I can sell you a house. Uh, yeah, I mean, if you need a friend, like I love people. Sometimes I'm known in my friend circles to uh, tell you what you need to hear, even though you may not want to hear it.
that's important.
So yeah, um,
Do you want to share any contact information?
yeah, sure. I mean, contact me on my social media. You can use my Instagram,
Hmm.
Lesley D Yoga. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good. Lesley, this has been a treat. I appreciate you. Thank you for being so vulnerable about a very difficult experience that you have found positivity and hope and inspiration from, and you're sharing that inspiration with the world and uplifting other people through your message. Continue to share it. It's you shine a light on this world. So thank you.
Thank you,
Lesley.
Reggie. Thank you
Yes.
for what you do.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you. Yes. With all the things that you could be doing and all the places you could be, I appreciate you being here with me, embracing vulnerability.
Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of Vulnerability Muscle. If you've enjoyed these conversations around vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us to continue to do the work that we do, but it allows other people to witness the power of vulnerability. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And don't forget to spread the word. You can follow us at Vulnerability Muscle on Instagram and me personally at Reggie D Ford across all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and support. And remember, embracing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is the source of your greatest strength. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but most workouts are. So keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.